India is in the global spotlight. From technology and defense to trade and energy, the world is watching closely. But here's the real question. What happens when powerful nations, or even global corporations, decide to target India? Think about it. We live in an age where countries impose sanctions, pressure governments, and corporations try to force their way into new markets. India, with its 1.4 billion people, is often at the center of these strategies. Some see it as a prize to be won, others as a problem to be controlled. But history tells us something very different. Those who underestimate or pressure India often end up making a big mistake. Take a step back. For decades, global powers have tried to bend India's policies to fit their agendas, whether it's oil purchases, defense partnerships, or trade routes. Western companies, too, have entered India thinking they can dominate, only to realize that the Indian market plays by its own rules. From retail giants struggling to capture consumers to governments frustrated that India won't follow their playbook, the pattern is clear. India doesn't fold. It adapts, resists, and often emerges stronger. And here's a dose of irony. Winston Churchill once dismissed India as merely a geographical expression. Fast forward to today, and that expression is the world's fastest growing major economy, a rising tech powerhouse, and a global diplomatic player that can no longer be ignored. So, why do powerful players keep making the same mistake? Why do they target India thinking it will be easy, only to discover that India pushes back harder than expected? Could it be arrogance, a lack of understanding of India's culture and resilience? Or simply the failure to see that India is not just a market, it's a billion-strong civilization that has survived for thousands of years? In this video, we're going to unpack all of it. We'll explore India's rise on the global stage, reveal why targeting India almost always backfires, revisit case studies of those who underestimated the country, and highlight the bigger shifts happening in geopolitics and global business. Finally, we'll uncover what lessons nations, corporations, and even individuals can learn from India's story of resilience and strength. India's global rise. To truly understand why targeting India is a mistake, we first need to look at how far the nation has come. Historically, India was seen as the jewel of the British Empire, but also as a colony to be exploited. For nearly 2 centuries, its resources were drained, its industries suppressed, and its people controlled. Yet, just 75 years after independence, India has transformed itself into one of the most influential economies and democracies in the world. Economically, the numbers speak for themselves. In 2022, India officially overtook the United Kingdom, its former colonizer, to become the world's 5th largest economy. That is more than just a statistic, it's symbolic. A nation once ruled by the British now surpasses them on the global economic ladder, and the momentum isn't slowing down. With growth rates averaging around 6 to 7% per year, India is projected to become the 3rd largest economy by 2030, but it's not just about money. Demographics give India a massive advantage. With a median age of just 28, India has the youngest large workforce in the world. Compare that to aging societies like Japan or much of Europe, and you see why businesses are betting on India's future. This isn't just a country of workers, it's a country of creators, innovators, and dreamers ready to power the next era of global progress. And then there's technology. India is no longer just the back office of the world. It's the startup capital of Asia, producing unicorns in fintech, edtech, health tech, and beyond. Its space program has achieved milestones that shocked the world, like the Chandrayaan-3 mission, which made India the first nation to land near the lunar South Pole. These aren't the achievements of a country that can be pushed around. These are the signs of a rising power. Finally, consider geography. India sits at the heart of the Indo-Pacific, the world's most strategically important region. It's a naval power in the Indian Ocean, a counterweight to China, and a critical partner for the US, Europe, and Asia alike. In short, India is not just rising, it's becoming unavoidable. So, why would anyone still think targeting India is a good idea? Why targeting India backfires? The answer is simple. India is too big, too diverse, and too resilient to be pushed around. First, the market itself makes India untouchable. With 1.4 billion people and over 400 million middle-class consumers, India represents one of the largest demand centers on Earth. Any company or government that tries to isolate India risks isolating itself from one of the fastest-growing markets in history. Second, India is a democracy. That means its people have a voice, and they use it. Foreign brands that ignore Indian culture or try to impose Western models often face massive public backlash. In India, consumers don't just buy, they resist. Policies or companies that don't respect local values simply don't survive. Third, the government has doubled down on self-reliance. Through initiatives like Atmanirbhar Bharat Self-Reliant India, India is investing heavily in its own manufacturing, defense, and technology sectors. This reduces dependence on imports and gives India leverage when global pressures mount. Fourth, the most underrated factor, cultural resilience. India isn't just a country, it's a civilization. Its traditions, faiths, and values have survived invasions, colonization, and globalization. Trying to pressure India is like trying to bend steel with your bare hands. You're more likely to hurt yourself than change it. We see this play out in real-world examples. Western fast food chains once entered India thinking they could dominate. But ignoring local tastes, they quickly failed. Only when they adapted, offering vegetarian menus, spicy flavors, and Indian-style products, did they succeed. Governments tried to pressure India on oil purchases from Russia after the Ukraine war. India refused, kept buying, and not only secured cheap energy, but also resold refined fuels to Europe, profiting in the process. The key lesson: when you target India, you're not challenging a small nation. You're testing a billion-strong civilization with centuries of resilience behind it. Those who underestimated India history is filled with examples of powerful players underestimating India and regretting it. Take Coca-Cola. In the 1970s, the global soft drink giant refused to comply with India's government regulations and was forced to leave. For decades, Pepsi dominated the market. When Coca-Cola returned in the 1990s, it had to fight tooth and nail to rebuild trust and market share. Lesson: in India, even the world's biggest brands must respect the rules. Then there's Walmart. The world's largest retailer thought it could walk into India and conquer. But India's unique retail structure, dominated by small family-owned shops, proved too complex. Walmart struggled for years and eventually had to adapt by partnering with Flipkart, an Indian e-commerce giant, instead of trying to go it alone. In the tech world, Twitter now clashed with the Indian government over content regulations. While in other nations Twitter might have ignored local laws, in India it was forced to comply. Why? Because India is simply too important a market to walk away from. And on the geopolitical stage, Western governments repeatedly warned India against buying oil from Russia. India not only refused, but turned the situation to its advantage, buying cheap oil, refining it, and selling it back to Europe. That's not weakness, that's strategic brilliance. Even militarily, India has shown resilience. During the Kargil War of 1999, when Pakistan-backed forces crossed into Indian territory, India fought back and reclaimed its land. In 2019, after the Pulwama terror attack, India carried out the Balakot airstrikes deep inside Pakistani territory, proving that it will not hesitate to defend itself when provoked. Time and again, those who thought India would bend realized it only grows stronger under pressure. Up, because if history is any guide, targeting India isn't just risky, It's a big mistake. India's geopolitical strength, if there's one thing that sets India apart in today's world, it's how skillfully it plays the geopolitical chessboard. Unlike many nations that are pulled into one camp or another, India has mastered the art of balancing relationships across conflicting powers. On one side, India enjoys strong ties with the United States, cooperating on defense, technology, and trade. Through the Quad Alliance, alongside the US, Japan, and Australia, India plays a crucial role in countering China's influence in the Indo-Pacific. Joint military exercises and technology sharing deals underscore how valuable India is to Washington's long-term strategy. Yet, India hasn't abandoned its old allies. Its relationship with Russia remains steady, especially in defense and energy. Despite Western sanctions, India has continued buying Russian oil at discounted prices, proving that it makes decisions based on national interest, not foreign pressure. Then there's the Middle East. India has deepened its energy and trade ties with Gulf nations like Saudi. Lessons for nations and corporations. If there's one thing history has shown, it's that pressuring India almost always backfires. Nations that try to box India into a corner usually end up strengthening its resolve, and ironically pushing India to innovate and create alternatives. Take energy security. When Western countries pressured India to stop importing oil from Russia, New Delhi didn't fold. Instead, it expanded refining capacity, diversified suppliers, and re-exported fuels to other countries at a profit. Similarly, when weapons deals were threatened, India doubled down on domestic defense production, rolling out indigenous tanks, missiles, and even fighter jets under the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. The message is clear: external pressure only makes India more self-reliant. Corporations can learn the same lesson. India is not a market where you can simply copy-paste strategies from the West. Success here requires adaptation, patience, and cultural sensitivity. Look at Apple. After years of relying on imports, it now assembles iPhones locally, employs thousands, and is finally opening flagship Apple stores in Mumbai and Delhi, or Amazon, which initially struggled with regulations, but adapted by working with millions of small Indian sellers through its local Kirana partnerships. The result, a foothold in one of the fastest growing e-commerce markets in the world. The failures are equally instructive. Brands that refused to adapt, ignoring vegetarian preferences, price sensitivities, or regulatory realities, either retreated or were pushed to the margins. Success in India requires long-term commitment, not short-term gain. The biggest lesson: resilience. India is unpredictable, but its potential is unmatched. As the saying goes, if you can succeed in India, you can succeed anywhere. Nations and businesses that treat India as an equal partner rather than a pawn to be pressured will find themselves rewarded. Those who underestimate India risk wasting billions and damaging reputations. Reflection for viewers. Now let's bring this closer to you, the viewer. Ask yourself, do you think the world still underestimates India's power? Despite India being the world's fifth largest economy, there are still global leaders and corporations who believe they can dictate terms. History shows how costly that mistake can be. Here's another question: should nations learn to partner instead of target India? When countries collaborate in technology, space research, renewable energy, or defense, both sides grow stronger. When they try to pressure India into compliance, India simply builds new paths, often becoming stronger in the process. And the big one: can India's rise permanently shift global power? With the youngest workforce, booming digital infrastructure, and growing influence in forums like BRICS and the Quad, India isn't just rising, it's shaping the new world order. For decades, the spotlight was on China. But today, many eyes are turning to India as the true engine of 21st century growth. For individuals watching this, India's story isn't just about geopolitics. It's about resilience, faith, and adaptation. Just as India has reinvented itself from colony to global power, you too can reinvent yourself, no matter the obstacles. Success requires vision, patience, and the courage to walk your own path, even when pressured from all sides. So, as you reflect on this, remember, India is proof that persistence pays off. And if a nation of over 1 billion can rise against all odds, so can you. Call to action, so what have we learned today? We've seen that targeting India has historically been a mistake, whether by colonial powers, foreign corporations, or modern governments. Each time, India has responded with resilience, innovation, and an even stronger sense of independence. From economic growth to technological advancement, from geopolitical balancing to cultural resilience, India isn't just a country, it's a civilization. And to underestimate it, or to pressure it without understanding its depth, is not just unwise, it's the biggest mistake anyone can make. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think the world is finally learning not to underestimate India? Or are we about to see new mistakes from nations and corporations who don't understand its true strength? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who care about the future of global power. And stay tuned, because in the next video, we'll be asking an even bigger question: India versus China, who will lead the 21st century? Trust me, you won't want to miss that discussion. Until then, remember, India's story isn't just about economics or politics. It's about resilience, adaptation, and the belief that no amount of pressure can stop a determined nation from rising.